You had the third point you're going to talk about with regards to the studies.
Yes, and then the third one was the CD14 cells. So CD14 cells being a marker of adult stem cell production. Again, remembering that these folks were 79.9 years of age on average. They had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's at least for 1 year. We actually showed just under a 300% increase in CD14 cells. So think about that for a second. I mean, as you well know, and maybe you just talked about this in some of your previous shows, but one of the reasons we live day to day with this cellular replication, this ongoing life and death process of our cells, is that we have the capacity or the ability to make stem cells that essentially replace our cells. And of course, it depends on, whether you're talking about the gut or the skin or the eye or the liver or the brain, whatever, it depends on the organ. But we know that over about a 7-year period, roughly the entire body cellularly has been replaced. And so having that capacity to replace ourselves, obviously that's one of the hallmarks of aging, is that once we, hit our middle age, maybe even a little bit earlier, that capacity starts going down. So I'm answering your question about how the saccharides influence the brain in a very, it's kind of like we're not going down unfortunately, we're not going down a straight road. We're kind of taking a winding road to get to a point where, when talking about the brain, the best thing that I can say is that we can only link the clinical changes, meaning the cognitive changes, which at 9 and 12 months. So and I'm sorry, I didn't really talk about the design of the study too much, but it was a 1-year intervention. We put the people in the study on this, we called it generically an allopolysaccharide multi-nutrient complex. We didn't change anything else about their behavior. We didn't modify their medication regimen. We didn't change their diet. We didn't exercise them. We didn't do any other kind of therapy. We just simply introduced this one new variable into their daily lives. We gave them 4 scoops, which 1 scoop is roughly 2.5 grams per day. And we followed them over a 12-month period. We drew their blood at baseline and 12 months because of a limit of how much money we had to run the study. But we did do the neurocognitive assessment at baseline, and then 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. So we have the clinical information from 5 different time points, and then we have the physiological or the biochemical at baseline and 12 months, again, because we were limited with how much money that we had to run the study. We also didn't do any kind of imaging, which the question you asked me, if we had imaging, and I don't even know at that time, the technology, this is going back to, I think we enrolled our first subject around 2009. So it's hard to believe this has been like 14 years ago. I don't know from back then to today. I believe the imaging technology has gotten much better, to be able to look at the morphology of the brain, look for, tangles, tau, plaques, all of that stuff. So hopefully in the future, when we do have money to run a new study, we will be able to do imaging. That, to me, would be an important thing. And then also, I think you may know this better than I do. I've looked at, some of these proteins and immune cells and looking at, are they correlated in the blood with what's going on in the cerebrospinal fluid? Because I think that would also be maybe a little bit, more or better step in terms of being able to answer the question of how the polysaccharides influence what goes on in the brain. If we could actually look at the cerebrospinal fluid as opposed to just the blood. So it's really within the blood, as you know, it's really more of like it's more of a systemic effect as opposed to a local effect.
Right.
So, but going back, so with the description of the design of the study, what I can tell you is that the only thing that makes sense to Dr. Reg and our other colleagues and myself is that what's going on in the blood has to be directly attributable to what went on in the brain. Otherwise, it made no sense that our subjects had clinically and statistically significant improvements in cognitive function at 9 and 12 months. Otherwise, there's no way to explain it because nothing else changed in their lives. They were not, given more medications or, anything else happened to them. They basically just lived their lives exactly as they were before going into the study, the same way during that 12 months while they were in the study. So I would be so bold as to suggest that things like VEGF and TNF alpha, again, proteins that are classically looked at in cardiovascular disease and cancer, actually they have an effect on our brains. So you could almost extend the term inflammation to neuroinflammation. We actually calmed down that inflammation in the brain and even in the entire central nervous system. Same thing with this, the change in the CD4 to CD8 ratio. Obviously, that didn't have just an effect on our general immune function, but there was a clinical aspect to that of correlating what's going on with the immune system with what's going on in the central nervous system.
Right.
And then finally, with the CD14 cells, the only thing that made sense to, again, Dr. Reg and me and our other colleagues was that the body's own intelligence knew that, okay, this person's brain is not functioning properly. So we're going to send these CD14 cells out to the brain, excuse me, to either create new neurons, repair existing ones, repair synapses, clean up tau, tax, plaques, tangles, etc. Whatever was going on there, again, that was the only thing that made sense to us, because why would cognition come back in these people that were otherwise, in many cases, a lot of these folks were barely speaking, couldn't remember their wife or their husband's name, couldn't remember their children, and these were educated people that in many cases had been professionals in whatever they were doing for their lives and their careers, successful people that were reduced to basically a piece of furniture. And so
moderate to severe forms of Alzheimer's,
yes,
dementia.
Yes,
that is
worst.
That is unheard of. That is absolutely unheard of.
It is, and as I'm sure you may know, the FDA, interestingly, the FDA does not require big pharma to submit cognition data when they submit a new drug application. I found that bizarre as I've gone over this journey over the last, again, close to 15 years. And so here we have a dietary supplement, something totally natural, plant-based, between Dr. Reg and my own life now, combined together, he and I have over 60 years of experience with using these polysaccharides. Very, very few, if not completely non-existent, what I would call an adverse effect. I mean, occasionally you get somebody who's, I refer to as being like super sensitive. And I don't know what that's due to, maybe some other toxicity that they have that they need to get rid of, but we don't have any
of some enzyme deficiency or food intolerance that's most people don't have. Yeah,
exactly. No known interactive effects with either medications or other nutrients. There's no hypo-responsiveness, meaning that your body doesn't develop a tolerance to it. I mean, there's no downside to this. It's taking something that Mother Nature provides us, and it helps us to be healthy. And of course, there's no such thing, there never will be such thing as a cure for mortality. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get the response from people that will say, well, we're going to die anyway, who cares? I'm like, what kind of an attitude is that? Like, I want to be healthy. I want to be optimal. I want to have a great quality of life up until my last state of my life. And
absolutely,
I can't guarantee I'm going to do that, but I believe if you look at comparing the polysaccharides to, maybe other things like curcumin or certain vitamins and minerals, I mean, there are lots of other things that we need as well. But in my view, I put these polysaccharides, and particularly the ones that come from aloe vera and rice bran, up pretty much against anything in terms of their ability to help us be healthy. And it's been so rewarding to my life, really, beyond my career, my entire life, of how I've been able to help people with basically making a very simple recommendation to add these polysaccharides to their lives.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Ajibade. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button below. And if you want to be notified of when we upload other videos, please click on the bell button so that you can be notified. God bless. Take care. Bye.